Hello everyone, Darkcrash here to give you your Bitcoin and crypto update on the charts. So for Bitcoin on the weekly, we have made a green candle on the Heikin Ishis, but we are struggling to body above my spider line here. Now, what I'm about to show you in the other charts will make a lot more sense as to why this weekly candle is struggling to form support and body above the spider line. But right now we are looking at what I would say is a chance for this massive momentum turtle to make its way to the upside and give us some hope. And that hope would more or less push us to 118, 119K, in my opinion. And that would be a massive area of resistance, a value area, or so to say, which we can see if we slide over into the daily here. We've got up here 118, 119, this nice little pocket, which after having formed a blue triangle and green dot showing a change of both direction and price action, we are seeing that now we have that opportunity to reclaim it. However, with our RSI and stochastics still being spread apart, still being overbought, meeting this interesting point where our resistance is fighting against the 50-60 line, and of course with the downtrending short-term volume, we more or less will see a flip where we think this turtle is going to make it, but then it's just going to hover a little bit and we're still going to bleed out. Just like what happened back here. We thought it was starting to come back up. We thought we were going to maybe mellow out and hang out here, but no, we just dropped and had a little bit more of a dump. Now, the same thing could very well happen here. And quite honestly, I think it will. I'm leaning a lot more bearish in this scenario than I normally would, but that's just because I like to, play it safe. And playing it safe means also having, again, this is not financial advice, this is just my opinion and what I do for myself. Everyone's situation is different, and you should obviously be consulting professionals for these types of things. But for what I'm doing is I'm always trying to keep a little bit of cash on the side because you never know for your own personal issues, for your own solvency. You just got to have a little bit on the side, right? And if things work out in your favor, then you can always put a little bit extra into Bitcoin. You can do a little bit more with your investments, whatever might float your boat. So that being said, always have a backup plan because what I'm looking for more so is a 98K bear case because there is no way we cannot want to retest deep into these value areas between 100 and 98K, more or less. I could see a wick into the 97s, but I realistically would see not much more of a drop from where we are today. Now, seeing that the cycle hasn't really fully played out in the biggest burst that I have ever expected, this being a nice long drawn out, my suspicions are up for the potential of more run-ups, but this very well could just be a crab market leading into a massive bleed off, and then we finally get that deep fear that we've so been wanting as crypto gets globalized. Of course, this will be detrimental to all the nations that are currently trying to invest in it, especially El Salvador. But for now, they're doing extremely well, and I wish them the best. And I hope they do raise and take some profits here and there, because they should be treating themselves at this point. That being said, we more or less need to be cautious because this has been dragging on for some time. It's been just too nice to have this type of price action just keep on going and going and not start to head and shoulder, which more or less this is what we're seeing here, folks. We've seen like this was more or less a pause. We've seen the run up and then the crab. We've seen the run up and then the crab. And third time's the charm, right? And that's when we're starting to form that head and shoulders. So I could see in the short term, like I said, down to 90, 98, 99K, where we would kind of peg and finish that second shoulder, and then we could very well drop and start to form our next bear market. But if that were to truly happen, and we were to have already seen our true top, then, well, shucks, joke's on us. We're not really getting that super cycle. But, my friends, if we do zoom out, and let me just lower this, if we take measured move to measured move and look for another measured move, we very well could be seeing our bull case, and this spider line's just tentative. I have not updated them in years, but we could very well see that 160k Bitcoin. But yeah, let's just wheel it back really quick so that I can get into Ethereum and then maybe a quick Cardano before the end of this. So just quick peek at the 24 minute, again flagging there. RSI stochastic separate, and despite this kind of temporary bullish setup in conjunction with the flags, we are now also forming a blood diamond. This one just appeared very recently. And yeah, all that resistance and everything, we are more than likely to just simply come back down and at the very least retest the DBSI down at about 115k, if not coming down to our spider line in the 114 range. So that being said, that's our wrap quick for Bitcoin. Feel free to update yourselves on the charts as this is currently Sunday evening, 9 p.m. Mountain Standard. Now, let's take a quick look at Ethereum. So we are more or less seeing a similar flag situation, and Ethereum being the flagship of layer ones, layer twos, alts, etc. This puppy is showing a bit more of a downward trend. So let's broaden our scope here, go right to the weekly. Again, we formed that beautiful new all-time high way up there at about 49.48 or so. We have not dipped down into and touched our second EMA band, which is impressive given how long we've been kind of sitting in this overbought territory with relatively thin money flow, which is a huge surprise for something like Ethereum. At this stage in the game, I would peg Ethereum's money flow no lower than 20, but the fact that we're sitting at about a 8 is a huge surprise to me. We should be seeing it about 15 plus right now. So with thin money flow in Ethereum makes me think the world's still cautious. We're still trying to play into Bitcoin, our flagship currency, and we're not exactly ready to dip out into those projects. Some people are trying, some people are getting rich, some of those projects really are working out. But at the end of the day, it's going to be trying to pick those unicorns, trying to pick those needles in the haystack. And right now, Ethereum more than likely is the most reliable needle in said haystack, which is, quite honestly, the better choice. I would stick purely with Bitcoin and Ethereum in these extremely volatile markets. It's just not worth going after those highly volatile altcoins when you know you could be losing the family farm. So yeah, Ethereum looking very much like Bitcoin. The 4 hours still showing a lot of strength, a lot of good money flow there. VWAP curling up, huge momentum still in the upside. So that being said, even though we got momentum curling to the downside, it's still sitting in the upside. So as soon as all these other things start to tick, as long as our momentum's up, our strength and RSI is up, then we go up. That's just the nature of the beast. So Ethereum poised for a bit more of an upside, Bitcoin hitting a resistance and kind of going stagnant. So it seems like just a natural point in the markets for there to be bleed off from Bitcoin into altcoins again. So we're probably going to see more of the large and mid caps start to pop off again as Bitcoin bleeds back down. But I don't think we're going to see fireworks yet. We're just going to see a little bit of good movement. And yeah, that's pretty much the situation for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Quick poke over at Cardano. Again, we're almost testing the DBSI here on the 24 minute daily chart looking very healthy, except for the part where it's more or less forming a 1, 2, potentially 3 lower hump here on the momentum versus the higher price. That's indicative of a move to the downside in the daily. And a quick scoop over to the weekly. Let's see what we got here. Uh, we got a 1, we've got a 2, we've got a 3, we've got a 4 and a 5. Looks like we've got a triangle that's more or less failed and or finished its formation, and then we found what do you call that, support on the DBSI, and then also back here it looks like we are continuing a move to the upside on Cardano. So we flagged out, found our support, and we have moved back up to the upside, retested, and it looks like Cardano is more or less off to the races back to, and it looks like it's already wicked above, but I'm sure it'll happily wick above $1 again there. And I'm looking forward to that solid $1 Cardano being a permanent thing in the future. So yeah, that's the current situation today, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. Bye for now.